Hey, so in this screencast, I'm just going to walk you through how to use PearDeck and in some fun ways. And so this is something that I'm going to use to jazz up my Google Slides. But when I say jazz up, I really mean I'm making them more interactive. So it isn't just something that students are clicking through and then responding to somewhere else. They're actually able to respond directly in your slideshow for lack of a better way to describe it. But before you do anything, you'll need to add this on. So you can see it here. I have Pear Deck, and so that's easy to pull up when I need it. But if you haven't gotten it yet, you can go to the add-ons section of your file menu and go to get add-ons and then download it into your Chrome browser, into your Google Slides. What you will get from PearDeck are some free add-ons or so from some free interactive tools. But if you want the full collection of what's available, you'll need a premium account. Right now, PearDeck is premium is free for any teachers that want to use it during the pandemic, so that's great. So once you've gotten PearDeck into your Google Slides, you need to have a slideshow ready to go. So it's fun to think about what kind of interactive features do you want for your slideshow. And so for this example I'm using, it's actually not a math example, but it's having my advisory students recreate some art. And so here's my title page. I have a slide where I want my students to rate themselves as an artist. Where do they think they are on the spectrum? And then they're going to do a couple drawings based on some famous artworks. And so these are obviously not artworks of mine, but because I'm only using this with my students, I'm going to let's talk to them about copyright laws and not to use it again. But overall, they have the opportunity to recreate these in our advisory class. And then at the end, I'm going to ask them to give me feedback. And so this is going to give us an opportunity to look at a couple different interactive features. So the first one here, I wanted students to drag a blue dot onto the color on the traffic light that corresponds to their skill level. So I'm going to make sure that I've clicked on PearDeck add-on so that this pops up on the side of my screen. And when I do that, I'm going to actually use the draggable feature. And a new pop-up is going to come up. I want to change my dot color to blue. And now you'll see that they are going to be able to have a little blue dot on their screen that they'll drag to the section or the color of the traffic light that works for them. I hit update slide and it adds that interactivity to my slideshow. I don't need to do anything else. It's all ready to go. In the next view, I'm going to add the draw feature. I've already done that on this, but I'll show you anyway. So here's the draw feature. And so now students are going to get a palette of colors and different draw tools, and they can actually draw right on the slide. Finally, I want students to give me feedback, and I think that's easier if they just type it. And so rather than have to fill out a Google form, they can just directly give me feedback via this slide. So I'm going to hit the text add-on. And then when this comes up, students are going to be able to write the response to the two questions I've asked for feedback. So once I'm happy with all of the add-ons to my slides that I've used, I'm going to go to Start Lesson. And I've got two options. I can run this myself if this is me in a classroom or if I'm running a Zoom lesson, or I can go with student pace. So once I've selected that I want my lesson to be in student pace mode, here's the link I get, and I can copy that, and there it's already on my clipboard, so I can put that in my learning management system, or I can email it to students, or there's a direct connection to Google Classroom if your school is using that, which is fantastic. So I'm going to go to the teacher dashboard, and here I can see all of my slides, and I can see the code for the class. An alternative way to go on to PearDeck or into your sessions is to go to have your students go to joinpd.com and then enter a specific code. That's something that is often used when you're in a classroom. But if we're in student pace, they usually have a link. And I can see who is in my class. I can look at the roster and oh, look, I'm in my own class. So here on the side, you'll just see your own slides. And then here in this big space, you'll see all of your student responses. You can see them in a list, you can see them in a grid, and you can actually see them all laid out over each other, which is pretty funny. Um, but obviously, we don't have any work to show, so let's look at it from a student perspective. So if I'm a student and I clicked on the link that my teacher provided, this is what I'm going to first pop onto, where I see it's going to ask me how I'm feeling for the day. I'm feeling great, so I'm going to hit the smiley face. Students will have to log in with their Google accounts. And so hopefully your school has a Google account. Otherwise, they'll need to use a personal Google account. But so for here's my title page. And so you can ask students, you can either walk students through this through a Zoom, or you can just have them notice that that is your title page. The next part, here's my rate myself as an artist. And here is my ability to drag this blue dot. And so I am kind of an amateur artist. I don't think I'm Michelangelo. I'm definitely a little bit better than stick figures. So I'm going to go with yellow. And so then I'm going to, that looks like everything I need to do. Click next. And now I have a chance to draw the Mona Lisa. And so you might want to have more instructions on this screen, but this is an example of something where I have already directed the students or I've put directions elsewhere. And so they know what to do. So if I'm going to try to draw this, now I just gave myself that amateur, I gave myself an amateur rating. So I'm just going to give an example of how I'm going to color this in. And so you can notice that I can draw outside the lines, I can stay in the lines, but I'm really just given a canvas. So the backdrop of my canvas is the slide that I had previously set. And because I'm going to go against my word, here's my stick figure. Awesome. And I'm happy with that. So if I have my next drawing, and again, I can do whatever I want. I can just say pass. So I can actually write with this. If I have a tablet and a stylus, I can be even better as an artist on this. But it's great because it also gives some line tools, which is fantastic for math. There's a text feature, so I can be much neater in my prints. Grammar not checked, obviously. But it just is a great feature for you to really kind of have an online worksheet or an online graphic organizer where students have a lot of opportunities to model. And I'll show that in another screencast. Okay, I've got my last drawing, but I'm going to skip it for now. And notice that's a great feature where I can go back and forth as a student. So if there's something that I don't understand or if I want to preview my work for the day, I can flip through and then go back, which is fantastic. And then it says here, what feedback might you have on today's lesson? And you'll notice this is a bit of a split screen. So now I have an answer box on the right side and I can say, I love drawing, but I'm not as great as I thought I was. Next time, let's do charades. And so I can put that as one response. I can even add also thank you, right? And so I've got multiple responses that I can include. So what does this look like on your end as the teacher? Well, we'll flip back to this presentation session and notice there was nothing here for me to look at for my students. So I've got nothing in this big space. But now here you can see, let's look at the list layout. And here is my response. And you can see I have my blue dot. I can also put this in a grid if I have multiple students, and I can kind of look at them all at once, which is great for specific visual prompts or formative assessments. I can see my students drawing here, and then I can flip through all of them. You can see even, I didn't do that Rita Kahlo one, but I did the pass. And so you can see tiny versions, and then if you want to make it larger, click on the list layout. Finally, I can see my feedback and I can see my students' responses. Really great feature in student paced, and especially during distance learning, I can kind of get a full sense of my class's work from just my screen and just especially looking at it in grid layout. But what's really wonderful when you're in teacher mode in a classroom, you can hide students' responses so that if you want to show them on the board, there's an opportunity to do that here at the bottom. I can get into more details of that in another screencast, but hopefully this gave you a little bit of a sense of what cool features that can be used in PearDeck. Hope this is helpful. Apologies for some of my pauses. I am not the best narrator in screencasts. Cheers. If you have any questions, please reach out.